What is up, my friends? It is Tuesday. It is 7 o'clock. Here I am. I hope you're all having a great day. Got something pretty cool to talk about tonight, and I wanted to start off with reading you one of my favorite quotes of all time. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character because it becomes your destiny. So important. But where does it all start? It starts with your thoughts. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate if you say hello when you come. Here to serve, here to help, here to encourage, here to provide hope. And what I want to talk about tonight is one of the most important topics that is simply never talked about or taught in school. Geez, even in college, unless you're a psychology major. And that is how to control your thinking, how to control your thoughts. Because your thoughts are the foundation of who you are as a person and your experience here on planet Earth. One of the reasons I started doing this is because, hey, Ka, welcome. Great to see you. Is to help with mental health. And I'm telling you, your thoughts have everything to do with the quality of your life, with the quality of your mental health. And I read that quote initially because it is so true. It's attributed to Lao Tzu, but it's nobody really knows who originally said it. All I know is it's true. We have this tremendous privilege, gift, and responsibility known as our brain to decide what we want to do with it. And our brain, just about with everything else in life, makes an excellent servant and a terrible master. And if your brain is just running wild with thoughts, and it's like you trying to hold on to a runaway horse, it's not going to be a good time. And what you want to do is you want to learn how to use your brain to help you get to where you want to go in life and not be like a victim of your brain, susceptible to wherever it leads you and takes you. Do you understand the difference? And so, yeah, like that's the difference between driving your car and being trapped in the trunk is basically what it is when you are aware of your thoughts. It's called metacognition, not to nerd out on you, versus when you're just letting your thoughts run through your head wild. It's a huge difference. And so the first thing I want to ask you is, do you believe you're able to control your thoughts? You know, have you ever thought that? Like right now, what are you thinking? If there could be a transcript printing out in pictures and in words, all the things that are going through your mind right now, what would be foremost in your brain? What would you be thinking about? If you could carry that same transcript all throughout your day, what would that printout read at the end of each day? Because I can tell you what, I wouldn't have to know anything about you. I could just read that printout of what's going on in your mind, what you're thinking about most, and I could pretty much have a pretty good understanding of how happy you are, how fulfilled you are, how your mental health is doing. And that's the whole point of this podcast, whatever you want to call it, that I'm doing here. And so the first thing I want to talk about is there was a lot of connection with the video that I posted a couple days ago about perception is projection. And if you didn't watch the video, they did this amazing experiment, and this is one of so many, where they told this group of women that they were going to go interview for this job. But what they did is the caveat and the part of the point of the experiment was they said they're going to like put a scar on their face, each one of their faces. And we want you to tell us if you think the person who is doing the hiring for this company is biased against your scar, your facial deformity, right? That was the experiment. And one of the things about these psychology experiments is these psychologists who create them are so tricky. What they did is they gave them this scar, right? And in makeup. And then right before they were going to go have their interview, they said, oh, we just need to touch up your makeup just a little bit. And they erased the scar completely. This is a real experiment. This absolutely happened. And there's many, many, many more like it. In fact, the father of positive psychology, in my opinion, is Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who was a plastic surgeon who discovered this very same thing when he was practicing plastic surgery. Another story for another day. But what they did is right before these women went into their interviews, they erased the scar. There was no evidence of it. And then they went into the interview, and I think it was, I can't remember the statistic. It was like 86%, or it was like the vast majority of these women said, yeah, there was definitely a bias against and toward me because of my facial deformity, because of my scar. And I'm not sure if the experimenters told the women what they did after they received their initial test or not. But, again, pretty tricky, but pretty revealing about the human nature. And this is the point, and how it all connects back to your thoughts, and about how it connects to your quality of life, and it connects to your mental health. Because if you think, just as a hypothetical situation, that you have a scar on your face, or if you think that people inherently don't like you, or if you think whatever person you're about to talk to has something negative or antagonistic towards you, what is that encounter gonna be like? And the whole premise of this experiment, the whole premise of the video that I posted was perception is projection. And so, my friends, we are always, moment by moment, projecting ourselves and our expectations and what we think of, how things are going to turn out onto the people we're around every single day. And even when there's no one else around, we are projecting onto ourselves. We're having a conversation with ourselves about ourselves. And don't tell me that you don't talk to yourself, because if you just argued with me that you don't talk to yourself in your brain, that just validates everything I just said. We all talk to ourselves. We have an ongoing dialogue in our brain. And the whole idea is to help your dialogue that's internal help you, and not just run away and go wherever you want, go wherever it wants and take you down that road. So the whole point today is from this quote: watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. And it seems like such a little thing, thinking about our thinking, controlling our thoughts, thinking about having expectations about a situation or a circumstance, but it's really the littlest things in life that are truly the biggest things. And so that's why I wanted to challenge you to think about your thinking. So if you had a little computer that gave me a printout of all the thoughts that you had been thinking for that day, what would that show me? What are the primary things that you've been thinking about today? Because all I need to do is look at, statistically, the most popular thoughts that you've had, and that'll tell me a lot about you. Thank God we don't have these, right? And those thoughts are between you and God, but it's a real thing. And the point is, how do we control that? Can we control that? And the good news is we absolutely can. And that's one of the most valuable things I've ever learned, I've ever applied in my life, and one of the driving factors for why I do these podcasts. Because the day I learned that I could control my thinking, the day I learned that it was possible and I started doing it intentionally, changed my life forever. The most important thing by far that has ever happened to me in my entire life was when I gave my life to the Lord. I asked God for forgiveness. I became what's known as a born-again Christian. It was the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life, and it's not even close. Behind that was the ability, not in a close second, but in second place probably would be the ability to control my thinking, to be aware of my thinking. Because if you were to ask me when I was 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, can you control your thinking? I'd be like, no. Your thinking just does what your brain wants it to do, But that's absolutely not the case. And so what I want to talk about before I get into the actual concrete steps of how to do that, it's just to reinforce from another angle this whole idea of perception is projection. And it's called your reticular activating system. Have you ever heard of that before? Your reticular activating system. It's called your RAS. It is one of the most impactful things I've ever learned. I know I've shared about it in other podcasts, but I don't think I could share it enough, because it is absolutely so powerful, and it absolutely coincides with that video I posted earlier this week about your perception being projection, being projected onto your environment. It's so true, and it's so powerful. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been shopping for a specific kind of car? Whatever it is, fill in the blank. Say it's like a red Honda Civic. Well, all of a sudden you start to get in the market, you start researching them, you start to find out how much they're worth, how many are in your area for sale. What happens? Every day when you're going around town, you can see a red Honda Civic 5 lanes over on the opposite side of the highway. You could see a red Honda Civic parked in a driveway way off the road that you never paid attention to before. Why is that? It's because when you think about something frequently, you're telling your brain that it's important. I'll say that again. When you think about something frequently, you are telling your brain that this is important. Because guess what? Your brain, the reticular RAS, your reticular activating system, is more of a filter than it is a magnifying glass. What do I mean by that? Like right now, where you are, wherever you are in the world, you're being bombarded with data, with inputs, with information, sounds, sights, smells, everything is overwhelming. What do you pay attention to? That's what your RAS does, your reticular activating system. It filters out what's not important and it allows you to receive the information that is important. So a long time ago, during the times of hunters and gatherers and whatever, you hear a rustling in the bushes, you're taking off. Actually, that really hasn't changed much. Most of us, when we hear a rustling in the bushes, we're taking off too, because that information gets right through the pipeline and tells us, hey, there's danger, look out, right? Because if everything was on that same level of importance in our brain, we would be fried mentally. It would be like taking your car and just revving it all the way to the max, right? We don't want to do that. So God gave us what's called a reticular activating system. And that reticular activating system filters out the unnecessary stuff, the unimportant stuff. But what if that unimportant stuff is opportunity? What if that unimportant stuff are things that you've never thought of that are actually going to help you in life? You don't even see them. You could be like, so if you're negative focused, if you're focused on, say for example, you always say like nothing works out for me or things don't go my way or why is it always hard? Why am I always struggling? All these kinds of negative things. Your brain is actively looking for validation of those things. It's called confirmation bias. Well, it's the same thing we're talking about this whole time. You're going to look for opportunities to prove your thoughts right. And that's the danger of having a negative, biased perception of people, of things, of life, of yourself, of your environment, of your surroundings, of your job, of people in general, of the world, of God, everything. And so one of my favorite quotes in the Bible is and I shared this, I think it was last time, but it's so powerful. One of my favorite quotes in the Bible is when Jesus, he was healing all these people all throughout the countryside. Everybody was coming to him for healing, and he was healing everybody of all their diseases. There was nobody that didn't get healed. Think about that for a second. But then when he went back to his hometown, among the people that he grew up with, the people that know him, that were super familiar with him, they said, "Oh, isn't this Joseph and Mary's son, the carpenter? Like, who's he?" And it says that Jesus couldn't even heal people's headaches. It says he could do no great miracles, and maybe it said he could only heal somebody's headaches. Because the people's perception was projected on Jesus and literally limited him. So if Jesus can be limited by people's negative perception and limitations, what does that say for us? What does that say for the people around us? If you're around a bunch of people every single day that don't believe in you, that can be a serious, real, limiting constraint in your life. It's really, really wild. But have you ever been around somebody that the words just come so smoothly? Like it's easy to talk to this person, right? Everything just goes so smooth. But then have you ever been around somebody that's just like awkward, like you don't know what to say or whatever? Like there's a possibility that this person might be putting a limitation on you. Possibly. There's a possibility you're putting a limitation on yourself. And hey, I'll tell you what, if you find it, like this is a freebie, right? So if you find it awkward to talk to people and it's like you're kind of introverted and you're kind of shy and you don't really feel like you're good with talking to people, here's the trick. The people who are really good at talking with people, the people who are really, really, really good at quote socializing or just connecting with people, they're not thinking about themselves. Did you get that? So if you want to be good at connecting with people, if you want to be good at like just establishing rapport with somebody. If you just don't want to be awkward and negative in social situations, all you got to do is stop thinking about yourself. It's amazing, but it's absolutely true. Think about the other person, how you can get to know them. Be curious about them. Ask them questions. Let them be the center of your mind. Because the thing is, when you are thinking about yourself in conjunction with the world around you, it's actually hindering you. Like it's an extra barrier that your brain has to go through, and it prevents connection with people. It's a wild thing, but I actually made one time, like, I think it was like in 2019 or something. I made a whole 20-minute video on, it was for introverts, or it was for people who don't seem to connect well with other people. And I edited it, everything, and I never released it because I was like, I think this is dumb. But, for what it's worth, this is something I'm really passionate about, because I went my whole high school and college career basically being really insecure and uncomfortable talking to people. And it was because I was always thinking about myself, how I'm going to be perceived, how I'm going to come across. And when yourself is the focus, it's kind of like, it's the opposite of enigmatic. It's kind of like a magnetic with two positive, poles pushing each other away. But when you think about somebody else, what's everybody's favorite topic to talk about? It's themselves, right? Because we all know on a fundamental level how interesting we are, how many ups and downs we've been through, like how crazy life is. We all have these tremendous stories inside of us that we have lived. And when you're curious to find out what that story is for somebody else, it is such a gift, not only to them, but to you. And you would be amazed at what a different outcome it is when you have a focus on somebody else and you're not thinking about yourself. So try it. If you're not good with connecting with people, just give it a shot. Try not thinking about yourself and just focusing on the other person. And last thing on this little rabbit trail is an acronym that really helped me, and it's SODAs. No, that's a different thing. I can't remember the form. It's FORM. It's an acronym, FORM. SODAS is a decision-making acronym, situation, outcome, decision, whatever. Anyway. But FORM is family, occupation, recreation, message. Because guess what? Everybody has a family, right? And ask them about their family if you don't have anything else to talk about. But usually what I've found is really what's in the environment and what's in the context around you is most beneficial. Right? So if you're in the middle of Green Bay, Wisconsin after a Packer game on Sunday, that's a great connecting point because most people like the Packers. Use what's around you. Use the thing that's most accessible to connect with people about. But if you really stretch it for options and you really want to get better with connecting with people, use this acronym FORM. It's family, occupation, recreation, message. Everybody has a family. Almost everybody has an occupation. Almost everybody has things that they enjoy doing, recreation. And then if you have a message, if you just want to connect with people, that's a beautiful thing. You know what? It's an incredibly beautiful thing to engage in a conversation with somebody without wanting anything. I in fact can't recommend it enough because the whole world is trying to get something from us. We're all used to that. That's what we experience every single day. And when you encounter somebody who doesn't want anything from you and is just trying to serve, just trying to like bless you, trying to encourage you, like it is such a breath of fresh air. I see those hearts, Rebecca. It's awesome to have you join. Thank you so much. It's so important to just, if you live your life in a way that you just want to serve others, you can't imagine how awesome it becomes. Great to have you. Thanks so much for saying hello. And, so that was kind of a total aside. So back to our thinking. That was kind of a freebie. One of the reasons that I do these broadcasts is because I feel like I've learned so much and I've grown so much and I want to share. And so many people have shared with me that it's helpful. And so that's why I keep doing these. I am going to be going down to once a week because I don't want to oversaturate the market. So I think I'm going to be doing Tuesday nights at 7:00. That's going to be like my time. And I think I'm going to try to stick to about 30 minutes. At some point in time, I might be able to have guests, might be able to do like lives with other people because I think teamwork makes the dream work. And I think when you have a collaboration, it just makes things so much more broad because we're all so different. We all have such a unique perspective on the world, and we all have something to offer. And when I talk about mental health, like that's something that is lost a lot of times when you're struggling, when life is hard or depressing or you have anxiety or something. It's easy for all of us to forget that we have something so valuable to offer, and it's called our perception, our perspective, our life that we have lived that has taught us all the things that we know right now. So you might have, amen. Thanks so much. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely, Rebecca. I think I'm going to I just made that decision today. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I don't want to oversaturate and just overpopulate, my channels and stuff like that. Cause, you can have too much of a good thing, so anyway, so it's just so important to remember that what you've experienced is so valuable. So you might have 1,000 things going wrong for you, right? You could make a list right now on the left side, all the things that are going wrong for you. And on the right side, make sure to include all the things that are going right for you. Because on that right side is going to be all the things that you're able to help other people with. Also, on that left side, if you've gone through something, you automatically qualify to help somebody else going through that exact same thing. I don't think people realize that, like, whatever painful experience you've had, if you use that painful experience and reach other people who have gone through that same thing, it is so healing, because life sucks sometimes. Can I get an amen? Like, life really sucks sometimes. It's hard sometimes. But when you are able to convert difficult times in your own life and difficult experiences that you've had into a form of helping other people that are going through those same things, it changes the whole dynamic. Look at Alcoholics Anonymous. If you or anybody is struggling, there are very few better organizations to help than Alcoholics Anonymous. Incredible organization. What did it come through? It came through a person who was not able to quit drinking and is like, I need to find a way to do this. And what he found worked, and he was able to help tens of thousands, if not millions and millions and millions of other people. So whatever you're going through, whatever thing in life right now that's really hard, find somebody who's going through the same thing and try to help them. If for nothing else, then just to encourage them. And then remember, if you're going through something really, really hard right now, somebody else has probably gone through it that you can learn from, that can help you. The last thing you want to do, my friends, is like take something that you've been going through that's so hard and that's weighing you down and that's just making your life so hard, and just try to suck it up and do it on your own. Like, that's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. Find somebody who has gone through the same thing that you've gone through and who you can learn from. You don't got to emanate them, but find somebody that can help you, because so much of life is just kind of finding creative ways to bring solutions to our problems. Cause I said earlier in the broadcast, like, if I had a printout of all your thoughts every single day, what would they be? Like, on my credit card statement, I get, like a pie chart that shows me how many of my bills go to this, what percent of my spending goes on this, what percent, and that's finances. But your mental health has the same thing. Your brain has a certain percent that's occupied to certain things every single day. And do you know what's crazy? Psychologists have now said, this is really, really new, last 5-10 years. They are suggesting that we are 90% every single day the same thoughts that we had the day before, and 90% of the thoughts that we had the day before that. And the rest of the time, we're just on autopilot. Like, that 90%, we're just on autopilot. And that 10% of times where we're really, truly present, really, truly in the moment, those are kind of the only times that we really and truly can change our thinking and our thinking patterns. And so that's why it's so important to recognize just being aware of when you're on autopilot and when you're really present in the moment, because knowing is half the battle. That's one of my favorite quotes of all times from G.I. Joe. It's from my favorite TV show. And just awareness is half the battle. Because in order to get anywhere in life, you need 2 data points, not just one. Most people will answer, well, you just need to know where you're going. No, that's not true at all. You need to know where you want to go, but you need to know where you are. Because where you are determines greatly the path that you'll take to get to where you want to go, right? And being aware of your thinking is absolutely vital to changing your thinking. And if you can change your thinking, like I shared in this quote, you can change your words. You can change your actions. You can change your habits. You can change your character. And ultimately, you can change your destiny. But if you don't start with those thoughts, changing those thoughts, those little seeds that you have every single day, scientists estimate between 40 and 80,000 thoughts. That's how many most of us have every day. Between 40 and 80,000 thoughts. Every one of those little thoughts is like a seed. And every single one of those seeds is going to reproduce after itself. And every little seed is going to have different fruits attached to it. It could be fruits of joy, peace, patience, happiness, love, truth, or it could be seeds of despair, anxiety, anxiousness, all the negative stuff. Every seed contains that. Every thought you think. And then there are those thoughts that are like spiritual Doritos or mental Doritos. They don't really move the needle each way, but they're occupying space. They're doing something for you. Because every time you consume your mind or allow your brain to think about something that's not positive, well, okay, it's not negative, but it's a missed opportunity for something that could be more beneficial to you. You understand? So that's my big message today, talking about thoughts, talking about how important it is to control them. Last thing I'll share today is, how do you do that? Okay. So I buy into this whole idea that thoughts are important. Okay, fine. How do you change your thoughts? Because like I said, early in my life, if you would have asked me if it's possible, I would have said, no way. Well, I want you to think about an airport. I want you to post 9/11. When you go to an airport now, you got to put all your stuff on the x-ray belt so that it can get x-rayed. And then you got to go through that machine, put your hands above your head, and they scan you to see if there's anything on your person that could potentially be harmful or a threat to safety. What happens if you forget to remove your belt or you have a coin in your pocket? You know, the light goes off and they say, excuse me, can you step aside here, sir or ma'am? We need to do another inspection on you. That's what you have to do with your thoughts. You don't have to accept and allow every thought that comes in your mind. If you have a thought that comes into your mind, I'm such a loser. I can't believe how dumb I am. You don't just have to let that roll past you. You can say, stop right there. Excuse me. I'm not a loser. I've made mistakes before, but I'm not a loser. Can you go please to the end of the line and get your act together? You don't have to just accept every thought that comes to you. And that's one of the most important things I could ever share in the conversation of mental health. And sometimes it's so hard because these thoughts, they build up like snowballs and they build momentum, and it's just, you feel crushed under the weight of them. And when you're trying to change your thoughts, at first it feels overwhelming, like you're trying to stop, a 42-ton snowball or avalanche coming at you on, standing at the bottom of the hill. How's that going to work? Not well, right? But if you start with just one thought at a time, you might be getting blasted with all these negative thoughts. Just start with one. Just identify that one thought. And when I was changing my thought, what I first did was when I would have a negative thought or a thought of anger or whatever, I would take it and I would imagine it was like a blank piece of paper. Like that thought was on that piece of paper. And I have a good imagination, but guess what? I know you do too. It's one of the greatest gifts we have as humans is this incredible imagination. Unfortunately, we just use it for the absolute opposite of what it was designed for. We use it to catastrophize and think of worst case scenarios when it was given to us to imagine what possibly could be, what possible future could hold for us. Thank you so much, Ellen. I appreciate you so much. And so if you will just take the one negative thought that comes to you and you'll just identify it as something you don't want as a part of your life, imagine it's on a piece of paper written. Just crumple it up. Imagine in your mind crumpling it up and throwing it away. Well, guess what? 10,000 other negative thoughts might follow on its heels. Just take one more. Throw it away. What you'll end up doing is the same thing we're doing with my sister's little puppy here. We're training him not to bark, right? They're moving, and so we have this adorable little, what is he? A micro Bernedoodle? He's just an adorable little puppy, but he barks, right? So we're not going to make him change his barking overnight. We're just going to capture these little moments, and just when he barks at us, just ignore him. Just turn our backs to him, right? And then all of a sudden in that moment, he's like, oh wow, barking's not working. He stops. And guess what? Over a week, geez, I mean, I think it's like been 4 days. His barking has diminished by like 70%. And it's the perfect analogy because that's how it works in our brains too. You're not going to win the whole battle overnight, but the start and the end is all the same. And you just got to do it a little by little every single day. And that is identifying your thoughts, being aware of what they are, not just letting them fly past you without questioning them, which is what most people do because nobody teaches this, right? It's to identify the thoughts that serve you and identify the thoughts that don't. And when those thoughts that don't come across your mind, just like the TSA agent, come here, excuse me, sorry, no thanks, go to the end of the line. Or if you can use my illustration of taking it on a piece of paper, rolling it up, throwing it away. And like I said, you might have to go through weeks and weeks of doing this, but just by doing it, every single seed that you catch that's negative before it has a chance to plant, guess what? All the fruit that was on that seed when it's fully grown, you don't have to deal with anymore. And you will be amazed if you do this practice. It's called taking every thought captive. That's what it's actually called. If you practice getting good at taking thoughts captive, you will be amazed at how it affects your body, your physiology, your emotions, like your overall well-being, your mental health. And so don't just accept every thought that comes to you. Psychologists will tell you, don't believe everything you think. Examine your thoughts, accept the thoughts that help you and that you want more of in your life. And when something comes in your life that's condemning towards you or that's negative towards you or that's self-sabotaging, don't just let it by and accept it. Take it, stop, hold up all the other thoughts and say, okay, thanks, no thanks. You're not being accepted today, and throw it away. And at first it won't seem like you're making a difference in your life. But I tell you what, again, this analogy, I love it. If you had a printout of all your thoughts that you have every single day, like the percentages, you thought, this meant this much, this thought, this much, and you do this practice for just a week, your percentages are going to change. Because just this awareness, just this ability to think about your thinking and really be intentional about what you're thinking about has a compounding effect on your overall health and well-being. And I couldn't think of a more appropriate topic to share on these podcasts because just mental health is such an epidemic. We've never been more medicated and unhappy and depressed than at any time in human history here in the United States. And there's a reason for that. And I believe one of those reasons is because people don't teach what I'm sharing right now. And so I want to be the change I want to see in the world. So I'm sharing the things that are really important to me, that have helped me, and that I believe can help you the most. And yes, exactly, Rebecca. You know the psychology about this better than I do. And that's exactly right. A lot of people are in a constant state of fight or flight. You're not even able to think positively and creatively if you're always in a state of fight or flight. You're always looking for the next threat. And that's, if you really want to talk about disadvantaged communities and impoverished communities, like in the inner cities, this is why that is. It's because, like, thinking about growth, thinking about potential opportunity, thinking about how to better your life, pretty hard to do that when you're only thinking about surviving. And when you're in a situation where your friends and your family have died, nearly died, constantly day in and day out, and it's like you're constantly under threat, good luck thinking about how to better yourself, how to change yourself, how to change your family, how to help your family. You're just worried about survival. And that's the lowest level of thinking that any of us could have. And so what we want to do is we want to create environments that are healthy, that are beneficial, that are as safe as we possibly can, right? Because as long as we're alive, we're never going to be 100% safe. Because we're alive, that just means that we're going to die someday. But that's another topic for another day. I want to keep these closer to 30 minutes. But Rebecca, thank you so much for sharing what you did. And absolutely, the last sentence I just caught, that physical exercise, I don't know about the vagus nerve work, but the physical exercise does wonders in resetting that internal alarm clock that constantly keeps us in fight or flight. 1,000%. In fact, in terms of like curing depression, they did a study between counseling, physical fitness, they had a test group, and then they had, medication. And far and above, like not even close, in terms of outcome and like tangible benefits was the physical activity group, where they were doing cardiovascular activity at least 3 to 5 times a week over 20 minutes. Heart rate elevated over a certain point for 20 minutes. And so, man, that is one of the most valuable things you could ever do. And yeah, absolutely, running is a huge one for depression. Massive. And if you're not a runner, whatever, the idea is to get your heart rate over like, I don't know, maybe 80% or whatever it would be, to just have like you should be able to have a conversation with somebody, but you should like have an elevated heart rate while you're doing it. If you're out of breath and you're just, working so hard and stuff, and you can't have a conversation, that means you're going a little too far. You don't need to go all the way, and exercise doesn't have to be miserable. You can just have an elevated heart rate where your heart rate's elevated, but you can still have a conversation with somebody. That's going to be the most beneficial for you, not only in terms of mental health, but also in terms of fat burning, in terms of endorphin creation. Whole nother topic for a whole nother day. I could talk forever on this stuff. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Rebecca. I appreciate you all for being here. I'm going to land this plane, talking about mental health, and I'm going to close with the same quote that I started with, and it's watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. And watch your character, because it becomes your destiny. And all this is connected to thinking about your thinking, making sure that the thoughts that come into your head are thoughts that you allow, and that are not just permitted to go there if they're negative, and to grow and multiply after themselves, and to just be aware of what you're thinking, because life is short, my friends. I want you to be happy. I believe God wants us to be happy. I believe God wants us to be healthy and healed and whole, so we can be a blessing to other people, and we can contribute to society, helping and healing other people and serving other people. And imagine a world where all of us were on our healing journey, on our way to wholeness, reaching out to helping others, reaching forward to learn as much as we can, and everybody was doing that. It'd be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. And that's what I want for this world, and one of the reasons why I do these podcasts. So thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love the comments. I just appreciate any and all comments, saying hello, sharing a struggle, sharing insight, like anything. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to be doing these Tuesdays at 7 Central Time. I'm going to skip the Thursdays because I'm so far behind in chopping up my content and putting it up on like the other platforms and stuff. And it's just, I don't like doing that. So anyway, thank you, Ka, for helping me with that. It's such a blessing. And, until then, I'll see you guys next time. I just want to encourage you to think about your thinking, watch your thoughts. They ultimately become who you are and your destiny in life, and, contribute greatly to your overall mental health and well-being. So thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all. And until the next time, God bless. Bye-bye.